What up, folks? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Bruno. This is Trilly BTV. Let's get into some King of the Hill content, man. Now, of course, you may or may not know I'm a huge King of the Hill fan, and I was excited when they announced that the reboot was going to be made. And, it has premiered, I want to say it premiered like last week, and the reviews has been, amazing. I love the fact that, a new, rebooted series from the past, can pretty much get, you know, it's praised to where it's good. It's not horrible. This, that, and the third. You know how a lot of remakes or reboots come and they kind of crash and burn. So I'm loving it. But of course, with a great reboot, it comes with some little nitpicking or controversy or whatnot. And unfortunately, this time around, it's Connie Supernusa Phone. If you're not familiar, she was like Connie, little Connie. Connie Min's daughter from the original King of the Hill. A lot of people don't like her personality now as she's a grown up now. As you know, it takes place 8 years into the future, or when it comes, or it takes place 8 years, from the original, I think 28 or 2010 era, and so basically she's like 21 now, along with Bobby and whatnot, and she is what I would say one of your more modern, females. I'll just say that. And I don't necessarily want to say female, just modern, the modern mentality of just in men and women in general. So, but yeah, she's not really the most likable. I guess you could say, somewhat feminist woman empowerment, and a lot of people don't really like that about her and stuff. But nevertheless, we're gonna get into this little content from Squash Daddy, so that's a very unique name, might I add. We're gonna give him. I'm gonna react to his thoughts about it, about how Connie's being treated in in the King of the Hill universe. Let's go.
What's up, guys? I just finished watching the latest King of the Hill season 14. We are finally introduced to Connie and Bobby's awkward relationship, and I gotta say, I am very confused as to the show's direction of Connie, which seems to completely trash her character. But let's get right into it. In episode 4, Connie visits Bobby at his restaurant and starts to catch up. Bobby is noticeably excited as he still has a big crush on her. They start chatting, and then Chain Wasanasong, the rich, arrogant bully from the past series, interrupts their conversation and announces to Bobby that they are dating. This scene got me so confused. How did Connie end up dating Shane? What makes this even weirder is that Connie dating Shane feels like a complete 180 from her core values.
That's facts.
Chain Wasanasong is your boyfriend. Mom, we had one date. I don't even like... Chain Wasanasong is a boring know-it-all who only talks about himself and cheats at miniature golf. I
love that episode, by the way.
I want to date Bobby.
Right here.
Back in the original series, she was the one rolling her eyes at Shane's arrogance and mocking the shallow status games that her parents cared about. She found Bobby refreshing because he wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was just Bobby, goofy and genuine.
Facts.
It almost feels like the writers threw out her growth and just used her as a plot device to create tension for Bobby. And look, I get it. Drama keeps the show moving, but this kind of drama only works if it's believable. Connie's choice here doesn't just surprise me, it breaks the internal logic the show built up for over a decade.
I see you! Con, see everything!
Later in the episode, Connie asks Bobby to go to karaoke. While they are having a good time drinking and singing together, Connie ambushes Bobby by trying to hook up Bobby with her friend Ola. This scene got me a little annoyed. Yeah. First off, it completely undermines the emotional weight of their earlier reunion. We've got Bobby clearly still carrying a torch for Connie, letting his guard down and having fun, only for Connie to pull a total curveball and treat the night like a matchmaking service. It's like she's completely oblivious to Bobby's feelings, or worse, just doesn't care. The Connie we knew was thoughtful, even when she was blunt. She wouldn't dangle hope in front of Bobby, only to pivot into, by the way, meet my single friend, territory. What's frustrating is that the reboot seems to be using Connie less as a fully developed person and more as a plot device to push Bobby into new situations. It's like the show forgot that these two actually had a deep connection once, and instead turned it into cheap comedy at Bobby's expense. In episode 6, it gets worse. Bobby finds out that Chain is seen making out with another girl in public and tries to warn Connie about it. But in a surprise turn of events, Connie reveals that they are in an ethical non-monogamy relationship, or ENM.
Each of us is allowed to do what we want, whenever we want, with total freedom, as long as we get approval from our partner every step of the way.
So you approved that blonde girl?
Would that be a problem? Have you ever heard of slut shaming?
Oh,
it is the single worst thing anyone can do to someone.
I'm gonna wait till the video.
Bobby can't wrap his brain on E&M as he is more traditional when it comes to relationships. But what makes it worse is that when Bobby asks Connie if he can also be a good fit for an open relationship, Connie just brushes him off and says he is too nice and would get hurt.
You're not E&M material. It's just not how you're programmed. You'd end up getting hurt. And I would never do that to you.
Ugh, thank you so much.
This scene really got me not liking Connie. She gives hints that she has feelings for Bobby, but tells him that he's too nice, treating him like a child, and that she'd rather sleep with someone like Chain who doesn't care about her at all. I'm sorry, but what? This is such a bizarre turn for her character. Yeah. Connie was always someone who craved real connection, who wanted someone that cared for her beyond the surface. That's literally what drew her to Bobby in the first place when they were kids. Now, all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe she's attracted to the complete opposite of what she used to value. It doesn't feel like organic character growth. It feels like the writers threw in a personality swap to create shock value. And in doing that, they've stripped away the heart of who Connie was. Instead of the smart, emotionally grounded girl we grew up with, we get someone who almost seems cynical, shallow, and kind of a 304. Later in the episode, Bobby meets a girl named Willow, and they really hit it off.
I'm Bobby Hill, executive chef and partial owner of Robota Chain.
Shout out to Bobby, man.
Pleased to meet you.
Doing good in life.
I'm Willow. Were you gonna cook me or kill me?
No, let me stop.
They end up back at his apartment. Nothing physical happens, but they spend the whole night talking, laughing, and genuinely connecting before falling asleep. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of moment I always imagined for Bobby and Connie,
Joseph, man.
which is why it's such a shame it's with someone else. The next morning, Connie shows up to apologize for brushing Bobby off earlier. She even slips him a note that says, "You are not NEM material because you're husband material." And that somehow makes it worse. She's basically admitting that she does have feelings for Bobby, but she's still out there hooking up with other guys while keeping him on the sidelines. And I get it, some people will say, well, Bobby has dated other women before. Sure, but that's not the point. Bobby's not the kind of person to play these kinds of games. He's straightforward about his feelings, and if he's into someone, he's not going to mess around with a bunch of other people while telling them they're too nice for him. Meanwhile, Connie's out here openly sleeping with guys like Chain, fully aware of Bobby's feelings, and still dangling this weird, maybe someday carrot in front of him. It's not just disappointing, it feels like a complete betrayal of the character we used to know. But later, as Bobby introduces Willow to Connie, Willow says exactly what Bobby, and honestly, the audience, has been thinking this whole time.
Ethical non-monogamy.
I heard about that when I was at SMU. It's just some BS college girls say to get side dick.
Shots fired.
Excuse me? E&M is a relationship structure that allows people to have a connection without hurdles like jealousy or expectations.
Yeah, and side dick.
She calls out the contradiction in
Watch
Connie's
the new
logic
Rubik's
right to her
series,
face,
man.
and it's such a refreshing moment. For once, someone actually puts into words the unfair, mixed signal nonsense Connie's been pulling. It doesn't just validate Bobby's feelings, it gives the audience a sense of closure in that moment. Finally, someone is holding Connie accountable instead of letting her skate by with this "I like you but not enough to be with you" game. It's a rare instance in the reboot where the writing really hits, because it forces the conflict into the open instead of leaving it as unspoken tension. In episode 8, Connie's E&M relationship finally blows up in her face. When she deals with her parents' divorce,
And divorced for 2
I think this has to be my favorite episode. Of the new
she's
reboot.
devastated, and naturally she turns to Chain for emotional support. But Chain couldn't care less.
There you go.
All he's interested in is sex. When Connie pushes back and says he should be there for her, he flat out tells her that in an E&M relationship, he's not obligated to share her burdens.
Need your support.
Hey, stop forcing me to feel your feelings. This isn't consensual, and I don't feel safe.
Bam.
And honestly,
There it
this
is.
is the one time I'm siding with Chain. He's literally repeating the exact things Connie used to praise about being in an E&M setup.
Yep.
The lack of responsibility, the freedom, the no strings attached fun. Now that she's going through something real, she's suddenly contradicting herself. At the end of the day, Connie's arc in the reboot feels like a mixed bag. On one hand, it's realistic that people change over time, try new things, and even make questionable choices. But the way the show handles her feels less like natural growth and more like a forced plot twist that strips away what made her character relatable in the first place. In trying to create drama, the writers turned Connie into someone who contradicts her own values and toys with Bobby's feelings. And that's a shame because their history could have been used to tell a much deeper, more heartfelt story. If anything, this season proves one thing. Bobby has always been the steady, genuine one. And no matter how far Connie wanders, he's the person she turns to when it really matters. Whether the writers will finally give that relationship the respect it deserves is anyone's guess. But as a longtime fan, I hope they remember the magic that made Connie and Bobby work in the first place. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you love King of the Hill as much as me.
Definitely will subscribe, my guy. Man, hey, Bobby Hill for the win, damn it. It is what it is. All right, man, here's my thing. Now, of course, it's no surprise that, a lot of people do not like the fact how, Connie character development had basically was a no-go. She switched up, the writers, they decided for her to go a different route and stuff. And I mean, this is you can from Twitter to all the way to the forums, the little group messages that I have on Reddit and stuff like that, the subreddit, basically how when it comes to the new reboot, Connie has been quote unquote the worst character so far. But here's the thing. I'm not surprised. I'm in no way surprised that Connie, they made Connie different, compared to how she used to be. And here's why. Of course, back then, when Connie was a young kid and stuff, you had, she was like the smart, the very, either modest or very, intelligent female and stuff. I feel like King of the Hill, they have, basically capitalized off of, I don't want to say the modern woman, but basically what a good percentage of a lot of women are and stuff. Like the feminist empowerment. When it comes to, King of the Hill, I feel like it's far from a very, corny animated series. There's always, depicted these characters as, very, very relatable characters that, that are definitely in such a reality. And to no surprise, you have Connie. I said this, when they confirmed the reboot, I'm like, okay, I got a good feeling Connie will be either she either be gay, or lesbian, or bisexual, non-binary. Because if anything, Connie fits that category. I would say either her or Peggy Hill, but I feel like Peggy Hill is already basically she's married. The fact that how she's very she's like a feminist type, women empowering. At the end of the day, she's still a lovable wife, to Hank Hill and stuff like that. So if anything, that will have anybody that will have that type of push towards that, it'll be Connie. And as you can see, in that episode, it still showed that yes, I hate to spoil anything, but yes, men and Con, they basically, they get a divorce. I feel like, whatever happened, before this series started, the reboot series started, it basically, affected Connie throughout the years of her, growing up, from a, young girl to, a teenager to, pretty much a young adult. And, we see basically what I feel like I see, we see, this is, I want to say the effect, to her being like that. To her, regardless of the fact that, Connie, she wants, she felt love, from Bobby Hill or whatnot. She just, regardless, she's gonna have her own mentality. She feels like, oh, I'm better than anybody, this, that, and the third. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with confidence. Nothing wrong with, just basically just, being, smart or whatnot. But you do see that in this day and age, man. And no, don't come at me. Hopefully not, not saying, it's all women. But you got to be honest with yourself. There's a huge percentage of women that have this exact mentality, and it really goes to show us, like, man, regardless how much effort you put in when it comes to like Bobby Hill, hey, I'm the nice guy. It seems like bam, you finished last, and you got changed with Song, which is basically he been an asshole. At the end of the day, it seemed like he won, but yet he has the upper hand. He basically made Connie agree to this type of out of relationship to her, like, hey, we're together, we're gonna smash and we want to, but yeah, we can still see each other. But at the end of the day, bro, it feeling like Chain with Song, he's gonna win because when life came crashing down, and all right, kind of wanted to flip that script to her, like, okay, I don't want to just have sex with you. I need somebody to support me mentally, and Chain wasn't there, and bam. But now fast forward to that, we feel like Bobby he came back into the picture, and it's like I want to say they are together now. I could be wrong and stuff, but a lot of people don't have a problem with that. A lot of people saying like Bobby Hill deserves better and stuff. It feels like, oh, he's low-key, submitted. Once again, King of the Hill did a perfect example, man, of putting in, I want to say, the modern, relationships when it comes to men and women to this animated series. Because you got on one hand, you have, Connie, which is basically she's kind of like a, a fierce woman empowerment, feminist. And yet, regardless, she still has, she has Bobby. Regardless of what she does, any decision she makes, Bobby's gonna be right there to pick up the pieces. So I think he's low key right now. He's portraying, the submissive, male, which that's something we also, we deal with that as well too. Yes, you have the supreme alpha male and stuff. If women is then the third, but also you have the, I don't want to say insecure, but basically like I'm the man that's gonna either settle for less. A lot of people call him a cook or a simp and stuff. But also I'm gonna be the one that's I'm gonna be submissive and stuff. I'm gonna basically, man, just go with the flow with what my woman tells me to do and whatnot. I'm always gonna be there for the woman that I love and stuff, even though I'm not getting in return. You catch my drift. Hopefully you do. But regardless, man, I hope the series continues. King of the Hill, man, Mike Jude. Hopefully, I'm not butchering your last name. Y'all did a phenomenal job with the reboot series, and I'm excited for the next season, man. Got a feeling they will continue because the ratings have been just top tier. It's just hilarious. Look, if y'all not a King of the Hill fan, y'all obviously know what King of the Hill is and stuff. Y'all never been a fan. Maybe y'all watched a couple episodes. I highly suggest y'all watch the new reboot series. It is slightly different from the original series, but yeah, I feel like it's just like that perfect, I think it's that perfect balance, man, of just all around comedy, man. No, it's not woke and stuff. You have your woke moments, like I said, with Connie and other stuff. Hank Hill adapting to modern American society, but yet you still have the classic humor and stuff that we all grew up and love about, especially with Dale R.P. Johnny Hardwick and even John Redcorn, the voice actor for him. But my thing is, it's not too much left. It's damn sure ain't too much right. It's just right, man. It's right in the middle, man. I want to say it's just that all around perfect balance of humor and stuff. But like I said, Connie Super News phone. Let me know. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below, man. How do y'all feel about this as well and stuff? Like I said, I just can't wait for the season, regardless, man. The new season to come up with. Joseph is the most hilarious character on here so far, man. He's just hilarious, man. It's the little quotes he says and stuff. But it's your boy, Runner Trilly B TV, man. Another dope video. I cannot thank y'all enough, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe. Y'all get in the comment section below. Have y'all seen the new series, man? What are y'all thoughts about it, man? But once again, love y'all to the next video. God bless, and I'm out.